In this video, I spend 1000 days in the ages of history, as in from day 900 to day 1000. We started during the Industrial Revolution and end in the Interstellar Age. Almost every danger has been faced and overcome, victorious, be it the weather or interplanetary parasites. But there are still many great feats of construction left to be undertaken. I previously left off having created a sorry excuse for a fusion reactor in a giant pit that used to be home to a parasite colony. Now it serves other purposes. My first priority is improving the power transmission to the fusion electromagnets so I can get the reactor up and running and producing neutron fluid. This video may be the final in this particular series, or at least close to final. If you guys really want to see another one on this world, drop a like and we'll see what happens. But either way, I do have other plans. Oh, these wires are terrible. It's so bad, and there's not even enough of them here yet. It's a giant rat's nest. This really needs to go away. You know what else needs to go away? Dust. Dust needs to go away. I may actually delete it from the mod pack because I have the power to do that. Well, if I'm going to do this wiring the right way, I'm going to need some super fancy conduits, so I better make more conduit binder. I'm also going to need to make more ubercrete, so we'll get some of that working in the arc furnace very slowly, mind you. And I'm also always kind of in need of like andesite and diorite and stuff, not for building, more just for putting in a rock crusher and getting minerals from. So I'm gonna try to automate some of that with these igneous extruders. It's so much better than doing it any other automation way, like with an excavator. Literally can just put one block down and then it only takes water and energy as an input, and we get diorite right here. And we're also getting andesite. So now I can crush this up and get arsenic among lots of other things, which I need arsenic in order to make thermoconducting alloy, which I actually need that for the Ender energy conduits. I think that's what they're called. Yep, these are the best version of the Ender IO energy conduits. Got about 20,000 RF transfer rate, at least input output, and given that we're going to have quite a few of these around the ring, and the ring only needs about 40,000 RF per tick, we're going to be pretty good. Just going to have to distribute this properly. Let's not forget as well that I have to give the actual fusion core a giant power boost in order to turn on the reactor the first time, in order to heat it up. So I'm going to have to deal with that as well. If you saw the last video, you might remember that I struggled super hard trying to get enough power production to actually turn on the reactor to power up the electromagnets and everything. And I did this whole thing with like a solar tower and turbines, and it was kind of a nightmare. Well, I decided I'm just gonna forget about that for the most part. I mean, I'm gonna leave it, it's there, it'll work during the day. But what I'm gonna do instead is build a big nuclear reactor, because I always forget. I try to struggle with like turbines and diesel and all this kind of stuff, or steam, when I actually could just build a huge nuclear reactor and give it solid nuclear fuel, which is actually a lot easier, because I have a lot of uranium. So over here I'm going to build a 7x7 reactor, and I went online and got like this calculator. I'll probably try to put a link to it in the description. It's a very fancy calculator that gives you a reactor blueprint for nuclear craft reactors. And so I found one, I customized and made a 7x7 design that takes a couple active fluid coolers. Like, it will actually need to have water and like, I don't know what's it called, molten redstone as an input continuously for the cooling. But I got it to where it should be able to make about 80,000 RF per tick, which is actually really good. Honestly, that's kind of close to what the fusion reactor is going to make, which is a little bit funny that I'm going to just be making a nuclear reactor that will make most of the same power output. Granted, we're not making the fusion reactor for power, we're making it for neutron fluid, because that's a crafting ingredient that I need. Right now, I only have this one excavator, and it only gets 25% of its output is uranium, so I may need to make more of that later. We'll have to see. I also don't have any redstone excavators, so I'm going to go ahead and build another excavator, because I'm rich. I have lots of materials. It's a pretty amazing. So I can just throw down excavators whenever I feel like it. This one is going to mine redstone. I actually will need a lot of that, because I'm going to have to, like I said, have molten redstone constantly going to the reactor. Well, this should be pretty good. We also get sulfur, which is always nice. I kind of need that fairly often. Unfortunately, I now need heavy water in order to make some of the nuclear reactor pieces, so I actually have to set up the machines to make heavy water. It's a whole new system I added after the last video. This is what I do to myself in between videos. I get excited and I add new stuff, and then it means there's different stuff that, like, let's just say some things take longer than they did initially when I started this series. Anyways, I'm gonna go outside here. I'm gonna make a concrete platform, and I'm gonna start by making a chemical plant, which I already needed anyways to make plastic. That's another thing I did. You now need this chemical plant in order to make plastic. It's faster, it's actually, I think it's more efficient, but it's just another multi-block that I have to make. It's actually a modular machine, meaning that it's something I made myself, so it definitely doesn't look like anything else from any other games. Definitely not. It's actually a little bit complicated. It needs a decent number of different materials, but it can do a lot of recipes now. I combined some other machines, like several machines, into one thing, into this, in terms of its recipes. So now that I have this, what I really needed it for, sure, I need plastic, yeah. But the main thing that I actually needed to make was hydrogen sulfide, which is what you need to make heavy water, among other stuff. So, and the only way you can get hydrogen sulfide, unless you're willing to process natural gas, which I am not, is through a chemical plant. So obviously, I need a lot of hydrogen, and I had already built a heavy electrolyzer, this giant electrolyzer down by the fusion reactor last video, so what I figured, might as well run a giant pipe all the way from over there over here so that I have so much hydrogen already. I don't have to make any new electrolyzers or anything weird. I also decided to bring a gasoline pipeline over to the chemical plant so that I can connect it whenever I feel like it, whenever I want to make plastic. Right now the plastic recipe is still just gasoline and coal, and I don't know, it's probably, that's definitely not that realistic, so that may change at some point, but for now it's coal and gas. Very nice, it's already working. Look at that, that's a pretty fast progress. So I'm also going to need a molten sulfur in order to make hydrogen sulfide. And baby zombie, get out of here. So I'm gonna use this melter here, and I can just melt sulfur right on site and get the molten sulfur and stick it in the chem plant. There's one other big machine that I need though. It is a Girdler sulfide plant, which is what I actually use to make the heavy water. It's kind of complicated. I made it somewhat complicated and somewhat realistic-ish. So it needs hydrogen sulfide as an input, but you also get some hydrogen sulfide back, just not as much. Kind of same thing with heavy water. You need heavy water as an input, but you obviously get more out than you put in. And then of course it takes a ton of water, just a lot of normal water, in addition to the other stuff. And you actually do get most of the water that you put in as an output, but I may end up just putting that in a fluid trash can instead of trying to loop the water back, because, like, I don't know, you put in, I don't know if this is exact amount, you put in like 10,000 water and you're gonna get back like 9,990 water, or something like that. It's kind of a pretty high volume of water, which is why I'm gonna need a very dense, very big, infinite water source in order to supply this thing with enough water. Not enough space for fluid outputs. Why is there not enough space? What seems to be the problem? There's, oh look, now it's working. Yeah, so there's the hydrogen sulfide output. We're getting that back. Here's heavy water as an output. I think for each operation it's several thousand water, or like 1,000 water, and then you get 10 millibuckets of heavy water. So you don't get very much per operation. So it kind of has to run quickly and continuously. So I am actually looping the hydrogen sulfide output back into the input because that stuff is a little bit more valuable, and I don't want to just delete the output because you get most of the input back. That's kind of what I did. I made these feedback loops, which are always so much fun. Anyways, I have about 5 buckets of heavy water now, and I want to say that I need a bucket of heavy water for every 2 fission reactor fuel cells or whatever, and I need like several hundred of these cells, so I'm going to need a lot of heavy water. This is kind of going to need to run in the background while I do other stuff. So I'm going to start by making a ton of Panzerglas, which is now also what I need in order to make the reactor fuel cells. And I've got like a couple dozen buckets of heavy water now. It's been running for like a day. So I guess I'll go ahead and start crafting this. You can see why I needed all of this stuff. You do get 2 of them, but I need several hundred. Of course, we're going to need a lot of nuclear fuel as well, because as you might imagine, a 7x7 reactor that produces 80,000 RF per tick burns through nuclear fuel pretty fast. In fact, it uses one fuel piece for like per 20 seconds or something like that. So I essentially have to make more than 1 nuclear fuel per 20 seconds. And I'm just going to be using the low enriched uranium-235 fuel. It's literally the most default fuel other than TBU fuel, because I don't feel like having a bunch of breeder reactors. It's already going to be hard enough getting one of these every 20 seconds. More than every 20 seconds, realistically. Well, now I have several stacks of fuel cells, so we're getting there. And I am going to have to do some other stuff as well when it comes to my fusion reactor. Obviously, the nuclear reactor is just to power up the fusion ring, but the fusion reactor itself is going to need fuel. That's something I haven't talked about too much yet. I was originally going to give it hydrogen, but I decided not to do that because I will not get neutron fluid as an output. So what instead I'm going to do is I'm going to give it lithium 7, 2 inputs of lithium 7, molten lithium 7. I think it's lithium 7, not lithium 6. It's one of the two. So I obviously am going to need an automatic supply of lithium 7, molten lithium. I need lithium constantly. Lithium is not that easy to get. I have it coming out of an excavator, but it's actually coming from the same excavator giving me uranium. It's another like 25% of that is lithium. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use some blazing pyrotheum and some slag, and I'm going to quadruple the ore output. I'm going to get 4 ingots per piece of ore, which should be enough. I shouldn't need to get more ore then. I just need to have some other stuff. I'm also having some power problems. I'm noticing that my turbines, their alternators, are maxed out with their power, meaning for some reason it's not draining it all the way, which it should be because I have a lot of excavators running. So obviously something is wrong with the power transmission, but that's kind of the whole point of making Ender IO like energy conduits or whatever. I will likely retrofit my entire grid soon to be not with wires but with actual conduits. That may help. Anyways, you can see here that I have rich slag lithium and blazing pyrotheum, and that's giving me 4 lithium ingots per ore, which is pretty good. I kind of have to obviously have a supply of blazing pyrotheum, which is just made from blaze powder and sulfur and redstone. It's not terrible. I already have blaze stuff automated. And if you're wondering where I'm getting the rich slag from, I am actually killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Since I needed redstone anyways, I'm turning redstone ore into redstone dust using sand as an input, and that gives you rich slag as an output. So I'm actually able to use the byproduct from the redstone as an input for the lithium, and it makes more of it than I need, so I'm actually doing pretty well. Anyways, I forgot that I kind of needed to melt the lithium initially, so I can't really put solid lithium in a centrifuge. Anyways, now that solid lithium can go in there, and it can get separated into lithium 6 and 7. The one that I don't need, which I'm pretty sure is lithium 6, it's just gonna get stored somewhere. And then the lithium 7, which I think is the one I need. And I could be getting that mixed up, but whichever one I need is gonna get sent into one of these little magical ender tanks. It's a linked ender tank, so you can link it like with different colors. You color code it, so I can just kind of teleport it over to the fusion reactor. I had no pipes required. It's very nice. It just is a little bit of magic. And so if I come over here and we color code that, yeah, look at that. Look at all that lithium. Let's clear out this hydrogen. If I set this to output, it should deploy all of its lithium in here. Oh yeah, look at that. So we need 2 inputs of molten lithium 7, and that's not like the most power dense. It's a pretty decent amount of power for that. But that's not really the important part. The more important part, as I said, is neutron fluid. And it looks like my lithium system is doing really well over here. It's making it really fast. It should be plenty fast to keep up with what the fusion reactor is going to use. I've got an ingot former to store the lithium 6, so I think we're in business. Which means I need to come over to my nuclear reactor and actually build it, which is kind of tedious. This whole thing gets filled. It's completely solid on the inside. It's not like my terrible nuclear reactors that I've built before, where it's just me randomly throwing coolers in there and hoping it works. This thing actually it makes about 80,000 RF per tick and also has a cooling rate of about 80,000. And it achieves that through a very complicated thing that I needed a computer to figure it out, let's just say. I also kind of have to set up these active fluid coolers as I build them. I have to make sure that they're holding the right one because it doesn't distinguish, it's just whatever fluid goes in it. So I'm color coding these with red wool for the molten redstone and then the blue for just water. But I do have to preload these coolers with some of whatever coolant they're gonna have in order to make sure they don't just spread like water to all of them for some reason and then it makes it bad. It would be very bad if this reactor melts down, so I need to be very careful. I don't want to mess this up because this is obviously, there's a ton of materials in here, quite expensive and quite time consuming to set up. This is not an easy thing to fix if it breaks. Anyways, I'm at the last layer, so we're about done here. I'm just putting in some of the last of the moderator blocks and then my last 4 active coolers, which are all water coolers. Just gonna stick some water in them as I go. So that's the inside of the reactor. The issue is I still have to build the outside, which part of it's fine, some of it's just fission reactor casings, but I'm going to need a lot of fission reactor buffers. I think that's what they're called, and that's how you move fluids and items and stuff in and out of the reactor. So these things are going to have to go in the color-coded spots, and then I'm going to have to connect pipes to them and keep the pipes separate, which is going to be annoying. In the meantime, I've gone and set up a little melter to melt redstone, and here we have our molten redstone. It's going into one of those magical teleporty tanks, and it's going to get teleported over here where we need it. So these 4 things, this is for water. Water goes in the top and the bottom of the reactor, in addition to the sides, but all of the top and all the bottom is water, which is kind of nice. The sides are a combination of the 2 things, and I can just do this on site. I've got a big infinite water source. We should already see water going into here. Yes, it is, although very slowly. Okay, so I set up a pump which should greatly increase the input rate of the water. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be good. Now I have to kind of go around on the remaining 4 sides and build these pipes the right way. And make sure that I keep them separate. I do not want the water and the redstone lines getting mixed up. That would be catastrophic. This is why I color-coded this when I was building it. I even stuck a little trash can here, fluid trash can, in it just in case there was some cross-contamination, and it doesn't look like there is, which is perfect. It wasn't deleting anything, which is what we like to see. Anyways, here's another pump. I'm going to connect it to the redstone magical teleporty tank, and it's going to put the molten redstone into all of these buffers that are for redstone. Yeah, look at that. It's going in there nice. And actually, each of these buffers holds 30 buckets each, so if something happens to the redstone automation, each buffer is going to have 30 buckets, so it's not going to immediately run out and melt down. There will be a bit of time in which you might notice it and you might be able to do something about it. So I actually have the high-class problem of too much rich slag. It was backing up and shutting down the redstone production, which is not good. It's not being used fast enough in the lithium. Actually, that's because it's not being used at all right now because the reactor's not on. The lithium's just sitting there. But yeah, you get the point. Gonna make sure it doesn't back up because that would be very bad if it shut down during the reactor actually running. Anyways, I think I needed like 1 heavy engineering block, but I decided to make 2 stacks of them because that's how I do things. If I need 1 or a little bit, I'm gonna make a lot of it and then I'll be happy later. So that was so I can make 3 more melters, 3 more of them. But let's check on our heavy water. I don't think I need more heavy water right now, but if I do for some reason, then I've got several buckets of it, or several barrels of it, which is nice. Not sure if these melters are gonna work. I mean, it's kind of a lot of energy now that there's gonna be 4 melters running most of the time. Even with the energy upgrades and the speed upgrades, it's still a lot. So these conduits may not be sufficient. I'm actually going to go ahead and switch them to the Ender energy conduits right now, and hopefully that will help fix things. I guess this is technically the first little spot of my electric grid that I'm retrofitting away from either worse conduits or wires, and mainly the wires are more important. Anyways, now that there's 4 melters making to stabilize redstone instead of 1, we're filling up this a lot faster, so it may actually be time to turn on the reactor and see if everything melts down in a big puddle of radiation. All the destabilized redstone is backed up, so that means that every single buffer at the reactor has 30 buckets in it, which is pretty epic. I need to make a wiring system over here that's not a rat's nest so that I can somehow get 10 different high voltage wires over to the fusion electromagnet ring, but do it in a way that looks kind of not terrible. It still allows me to move around here without electrocuting myself. So hopefully this big area, I've got 10 different wires. I kind of ran out of room on the top, so some of it's on the side. It's a little bit ugly, but hopefully it's gonna work. I'm trying to keep all these lines separate. Each line itself, supposedly the lines can carry like 30,000 RF per tick on one line. But the issue is the connectors are only like 4,000 something, so that's why I need at least 10 connectors. And I figured I might as well keep the lines separate if I can. Okay, it looks like the reactor is working. We're not melting the reactor down. That's always a good sign. We are at a net heat generation of negative 236. That's perfect. And we're making over 80,000 RF per tick. But for some reason, it's not coming out of these buffers here, or these fission reactor ports. These aren't buffers. It's coming out of the sides, but I don't know why it's not showing up on the top. It also didn't want to come out on the other side either, so I had to come all the way to the back of the reactor and add an extra set of relays, which is a bit annoying. But now all of it's coming out for some reason. I'm not sure what the problem was before. Oh, look at that! Like the whole thing just turned green all at once, almost all of it. That's what 10 different connections will do. Oh, look at that! The entire ring is powered. This is the first time we've actually gotten the whole ring powered, I think. That is awesome. So, I do need to make sure that I'm gonna have a constant supply of nuclear fuel, because if I don't have any nuclear fuel, my ring shuts down, and if the ring shuts down after the fusion reactor is started, then we're gonna have big problems. And so, I kinda need to get wires over to the fusion core. I added a ton of additional fission reactor ports to the side of the reactor, and I'm going to use these to connect to the fusion core so that hopefully when I'm ready, I'll be able to give it a big enough boost of power right away to heat up and activate the reactor. Of course, if I'm also going to automate the production and input of nuclear fuel, I'm going to need more of these teleporty chests, so I had to make some more of that. I actually started by getting one to teleport sand, of all things. It's a little bit bizarre. But this thing here is going to pull sand out of my sand automation, out of the storage drawers here. And it's going to be sent over to a special spot. This over here is where my old isotope separator and stuff is. So I'm adding an induction smelter, and I'm going to add sand to the induction smelter in addition to uranium, or I'm going to have another set of these teleporting chests. And we're going to teleport uranium from my 25% uranium excavator over to this smelter, and I'm going to get more rich slag as a byproduct. I don't really care. It's just going to go into a storage drawer now. But it should make, I think, 3 uranium ingots per ore, which is pretty good. And then that gets sent into the isotope separator, and then it goes into a factorizer, and it turns the tiny uranium-235 into big uranium-235, and then we have an auto crafter, which makes the fuel. Yeah, that's a bit of a mouthful. That is actually all that I need to automate it. I also decided to make another excavator for uranium. There was a pitch blende vein really close by, and 25% uranium from an excavator, from one excavator, is actually not enough. I was watching the uranium tick down slowly. So, going to have yet another excavator. Hopefully I will have enough power to run it. I may have to shut off some other excavators somewhere else in order to do that. Okay, well, I'm ready to turn this thingy back on. We have a lot of nuclear fuel, and it's being created faster than it's being used, so we should be pretty good. Look at that. The ring is turning green again. You'll have to see it. It's pretty amazing. The ring is on. Now, let me connect some wires here. I hadn't actually connected the wires yet to the fusion core because I did not want it to turn on prematurely. Now, I want it to turn on. We are actually going to go for the first attempt at powering up this thing. Look at that. Look at that. It's heating up. The temperature's increasing very slowly. That's not good. It has to increase to 8,000 units, and it's at about 200 units right now. So I actually, let me go ahead and make an energy conduit. It may be that the wires are no good for this for some reason. Yeah, look at that. I've connected it to the energy conduit, and now it's going quickly. Now we're at 1,200 out of 8,000. Oh, now 3,000. It's still going. I even brought a couple capacitors down just to speed it up faster. I don't know if it can have like some kind of diminishing returns thing, like if you don't give it enough power quickly enough. Oh, look it! I went away for a little bit and I came back and it actually turned on. Look, the rings are filled with plasma. It's on, it's heating up super fast now. It's actually not, I don't think it's producing any power yet. I think it's a net zero, but look at that. Look how fast it's heating up now. That's because it finally powered on. Now, the real question is, are we going to have enough lithium? Is our redstone going to shut down? Is it going to, like, blow up everything? It looks like we have plenty of lithium for now, so I think we don't need to worry about that as long as those machines keep getting power, which, well, it's my electric grid. You never know what might happen. But, yeah, I would like to draw your attention to the 0 RF per tick that we are making. We are currently making no power. Okay, it's been a little while, and now we're making 5 RF per tick, so it's gone from 0 to 6, so that's nice. I've also got a little system here to take the neutron fluid out, and we actually have a bucket and a half of neutron fluid. We need, I think, 4 buckets total in order to make the Ender IO machine chassis. So we're gonna have to wait a little bit, but we're getting there. We're at 100 RF per tick now. And I guess while I wait for that to work, I can just kind of stare at the crafting recipe and daydream. And take care of a mild parasite infestation underneath the nuclear reactor in the pit. Because the parasites, they still like to show up. But now I have a bunch of buckets of neutron fluid. It's been a while. Whoa, what the heck is this? Why is there like a giant excavated pit underneath my railway? Obviously this is the work of parasites, but which parasites, where are they? Why did they decide to do this right here? And how can I prevent this from happening? I filled it back in using my little building gadget, so it's completely solid again. And I figured since I have infinite obsidian, I might as well put a layer of it down here in case they show back up. But they also broke a lot of my railway, so I actually had to go and fire up some of my old railway machines, like this big smelter thing, big casting thing, and this like railroad track hammer. And I actually had to make some more rail pieces in order to fix this. Anyways, we're making about 11,000 RF per tick now at the fusion reactor, which is pretty good, but all that really matters is I have enough stuff to craft my machine chassis. Actually, I was able to do 2 crafts of the recipe, and since I'm nice to myself, the recipe gives you 3 chassis per crafting, so I have 6 chassis now, meaning I can finally make Ender IO machines. Since my fusion reactor seems pretty well set up now, I figure I might as well siphon some of the power from my nuclear reactor and bring it into my other electric grid, my main grid, because I'm sure that I'll be needing that. Plus, I mean, now that I have more power, I wouldn't mind some extra excavators. I should be able to run more of my excavators at once, because I have a lot of them everywhere, but I just have to have them turned off. Oh my god, why is that thing there? I don't even know how it spawned. It's supposed to be disabled. There may be some issues with some script stuff. We'll have to look into that. That's an ancient dreadnought parasite. Like, bro, there's not even like more than, I don't know, infection forms spawning normally. And then I look over there and there's just an ancient dreadnought. I have no idea why it's here. It's not even supposed to spawn at all, but okay, that's supposed to be one of the parasite bosses, but it's not actually that hard. I just killed it with a scar and a railgun, and I didn't even come close to dying. It kind of just ate my excavator though, which is really annoying. I'm not a big fan of that. Anyways, since I seem to have taken care of my fusion reactor, I am gonna have to go to Venus, the planet Venus. I have to go spacefaring again, because like I have machine chassis now, which is great, but you have to make them into specific types using specific ingredients, and those ingredients require solar dust, which is only found on Venus. I need that in order to make industrial dye or whatever, something along those lines. So last video I actually made my tier 3 rocket already, so I don't have to make that now. I just have to get in and head out to Venus, which I've never been to before actually. This is the first time. This is a rather interesting looking entry vehicle. Oh, I'm going really slowly. Normally you're like going really fast and you have to slow down, otherwise you blow up, but we're just having a very nice, peaceful little descent here. Nice, so I guess this is Venus. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm glad it's not one of those planets where I show up and start dying immediately because I have the wrong gear. That's helpful. Ooh, Venus volcanic rock. I don't think this is what I need. I don't think that's solar dust. I think I have to go underground, unfortunately. I'm also gonna have to look for a Venus dungeon. I assume that's where I can get the next tier of rocket schematic. But more importantly, I found some solar dust. It's actually a little bit annoying down here though, because there's copper ore as well, which is almost the same shade of orange as the solar dust. So I kind of have to, every time I see orange ore, I kind of have to go look at it and figure out if it's copper or solar dust. Wow, look at this. Ooh, it's a crashed probe and it's got some plates in it, some loot. That's nice, I always need that stuff. Ooh, and you can break it and you get like this radioactive core thing. Apparently Venus has enough atmosphere in it for me to fly a propeller plane to get around. That's pretty cool. I'm a big fan of that. Anyways, I've managed to locate a Venus dungeon, so we'll go ahead and see what kind of stuff we've got. I assume there's going to be some kind of boss here. They're always super goofy, so we'll have to see what this boss looks like. Alright, here's the boss room. Oh, it's just... Okay, we have a spider queen. It's a big spider. That's very exciting. As usual, these things are not very difficult. Oh, it's leaving. Wow, it literally just left. It went up to the ceiling, it floated away, and now is camping under a big spider web. Alright, it's back. Oh, look at that. I was hoping that would happen. I hit it with Vorpal. I have like Vorpal 3 or something on my sword, and it just... that enchantment annihilated it. I was hoping that might happen. Anyways, what do we got? Oh, darn. There's no rocket schematic. What the heck? I guess I need to find another dungeon, because I don't think there's a 100% chance. I've found other, like, moon dungeons that didn't have it. I don't think it's guaranteed, but that's annoying. Alright, here we go. Ooh, what's this green stuff? This is probably bad. I probably shouldn't sit in it. That's usually not a good idea. Oh, it's sulfuric acid. That's awesome. I should totally sit in it. Anyways, another spider queen. Oh, would you look at that? Oh my god, it's like, well, it's like a one hit, whatever. What the heck? There's no rocket schematic. You know, actually what I think it is you can't find it on Venus. I think you find the next tier on Mercury, I want to say. I think you actually have to go to Mercury and go to a Mercury dungeon in order to get like the tier 4 rocket schematic. I think my tier 3 rocket can also get to Mercury though, in addition to Venus, so I mean, I might as well try to go. I mean, I think I have everything, and I can launch from Venus. Let's see. Uh-oh, I'm taking damage. Why am I taking damage? I do not have the correct equipment. I actually might die. I'm going too fast. Oh no, and I blew up the lander. There goes my rocket. I gotta do the GC Houston command. We gotta go home. Abandon the mission. Yes, the mission was abandoned. Oh, and I lost the rocket though, because the lander was going too fast and it blew up. That's so sad. I'm gonna have to make another rocket.
I'm kind of retarded.
At least I didn't die. It would have been extra bad if I died there with all my stuff. And to make matters worse, I come home and the fusion reactor's powering down. It hasn't blown up, but it's like cooling down. It's not working. There's not enough lithium. What happened to the lithium? I leave and go to another planet for like a day and everything breaks. Why? What is happening here? There's enough power. What? Actually, maybe there's not enough power. I actually think there's not enough. Yeah, now something happened to the electric grid. What a surprise. Something somewhere shut down and it shut off the lithium machines, which shut off the power. So I have some power going into it again, but not very much. And my wires are burning. That's awesome. I love when my high voltage wires burn. They only are supposed to burn when you exceed the power limit, which means there's allegedly more than 33,000 RF per tick or 32,000. Like trying to go through those wires. I'd love to have some of that power, but no, it just burns. Something caused my my turbines to shut down, because that's what always happens. I think what might help is if I finally decide to retrofit everything and get away from the high voltage wires, because there's some weird stuff that can happen, like dust or other things breaking the wires. Anyways, I think that my reactor is going to be okay now. It's got lithium again. I don't think it's going to explode in a giant fireball. I don't want to forget, I actually went to Venus for a reason. I can make the industrial die blend and use that to make industrial machine chassis. It's funny that these things, it's called industrial and we're in the Interstellar Age. This is definitely not industrial technology. Anyways, you also can make like soul machine chassis, which is really useful for some things. Like, I'd really like to make an experience obelisk. There's ways you can store experience, transfer experience as like a fluid. You can collect experience from mob farms. It's really useful for some of that stuff. But one thing I really need is the alloy smelter, which needs dark steel, and dark steel is difficult to make. Mainly because the recipe takes a ton of power in the arc furnace. You can only make it in the arc furnace. And I'm getting annoyed that I'm not able to transfer all the power quickly enough out of my turbine alternators with these wires. So I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to get rid of the wires and replace them with ender energy conduits. I think I have enough to be able to do this. And that should make my electric grid much more stable. I'll still use high voltage wires to like go really far away to excavators. That's not a huge deal. But inside my buildings, my factories, connecting these machines that are all nearby and directly out of the turbines, I'm gonna use this. Like, look how much more power is able to go into that arc furnace now. I can actually accommodate 3 different ingots smelting of dark steel at once. That thing is taking a lot of power right now, but I couldn't really do that very well with the wires. Anyways, I've got most of the stuff for the Ender IO alloy smelter, which has a bunch of recipes in it that you can only make in the alloy smelter that I really kind of need. It have been something I've been wanting a long time, and now I finally have it, and you actually get 2 of them. It's a hard recipe, but you get 2 smelters. I always forget though, you have to make these capacitors to stick in the machines in order to run them, so there's a little bit more work to do. There always is. Another great thing is coming down here into this crawl space. Having this be these conduits is going to be so much nicer, because the amount of times I've had wires break, like because pollution gets in there, or they burn up and then I don't notice. And it's a huge pain to go down there and try to fix the wires anyways. We should be much safer. There won't be like rogue clouds of carbon dioxide floating into my my crawl space, breaking my wires, because that's literally what's been happening in the past. What a good first use for my new alloy smelter. Using it to make some extra pieces of, like, what is it, thermo-conducting alloy for more conduits. Sounds like a great idea. I did in fact run out, which is why I had to make more. But it's worth it. It's worth every single one. I'm almost done putting them in down here as well, which is great. Just kind of had to tear up my train tracks again, which is not great, but it'll be worth it. More conduit binder. Throw this in a furnace somewhere. Nice. Now it's back to making more Ender IO machines, because there are quite a few more that I would like to make. There's lots of them actually. So we're going to start with a soul binder, which is going to require a soul machine chassis. And now I can go ahead and make this artificial brown dye stuff in the alloy smelter. That's part of the reason I made that first. So I need to make stuff like this, which then gets used to make the soul attuned dye blend. Oh, now I have a soul binder. So I guess I'll go ahead and put this over here. Oh no! Wait, where'd my soul binder go? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right, I forgot. That's one of the things that you can only put in space stations in zero gravity. Here we are, back in my space station. Such a nice place. Alright, hopefully this works now. Uh-oh, it's still not working. I'm gonna have to check some stuff. Okay, here we go. I fixed the problem, it's working now. Now you can place it in the space station as intended. So I didn't actually bring anything here to craft with it right now. I'm gonna have to get some soul vials first. Basically, it's useful for making special crystals using different soul types. The way the souls work is like you get this vial and you run up to some kind of mob or whatever and you right click with the vial and you get the soul. And you need like specific mob types for specific things. It's also how you can make artificial mob spawners. So I'm trying to make the enchanter machine, and that requires a thing that needs like a specific soul or whatever, and along with some other machines. Another thing that you kind of need that goes along with the soul binder is the slice and splice machine, which is a very questionable machine that you use to make things out of various mob heads. It also only is able to work in the space station, so I'm gonna go ahead and make that now, because a lot of like you have to combine the souls with some various weird heads like this thing. I happen to need a witch soul, and there is a witch in my ceiling, which is kind of nice, so that's actually how you get that. I'm gonna go look around for some other stuff though. I found a blitz or whatever. That's nice. Those things that kind of need those rods. Ooh, another witch. Let me get that. I also need Enderman souls, but I guess I'll have to go and get those later because it's not nighttime anymore. You know, one thing that I thought of that might be a good idea would be these teleporter blocks from Ender IO, and you can use them to actually make interdimensional teleportation. So it would actually be possible to teleport to and from the space station without having to use rockets. That might be something worth doing eventually. Right this moment, I'm making the sag mill though, which is the Ender IO basically pulverizer. And it's super nice for some different recipes. I should get a decent amount of this biotite when I put it in the sag mill, hopefully. Only 2? Okay, that's not very epic. Oh, there we go. I got 5 from 1. That's a little bit better. This biotite, I needed it to make an ender watcher, which is just a weird crafting thing. And then I can use it to make travel anchors, which is part of what I need in order to make telepads, which is how you can go back and forth from different dimensions and different locations. The great thing about that is I could bring it with me basically to like any planet that I go to and then set it up there so that I could teleport to and from that without rockets after I go there at least one time. Anyways, I don't have enough ender biotite ore, so I'm gonna go to the end dimension and grab some more. Oh no, I forgot about this. It's the Interstellar Age now, meaning there are nasty mobs that spawn in the end. There's dudes with super thick armor, and then they have like machine guns and miniguns and rocket launchers and stuff like that. It's kind of bad. Anyways, lots of biotite now, so I'm not going to run out. Oh, and I have to make 3 more travel anchors if I want to make all the telepad blocks. Oh no, wait, what happened to my reactor? Something happened to the fusion ring. Something interrupted the power to the fusion ring, and there's a breach in the fusion ring. Look at that, there's plasma all over the ground. So I actually have a couple left over, and there was only 3 that broke. And I'm really lucky that it didn't blow up more, because if you try to put unpowered fusion rings back against the plasma, it often will blow up, but it looks like it got powered. And now it's heating back up. I don't know what the deal was with that. That's actually really bad that it blew up part of the ring. Anyways, I guess I'll go back to working on these telepad block things and hope that my fusion reactor doesn't blow itself up again. It's not like anything happened to the nuclear reactor. Nothing happened to that, so I don't know what would have interrupted the power flow to the rings and caused it to shut down. Oh, that's weird. This is not letting me take it out of the crafting table. Something is wrong with this recipe. I guess I'm gonna have to do something about that. In the meantime, I'm gonna throw the items away and just spawn it in, because I don't feel like fixing that in the middle of this video. That's expensive. The octadic capacitor is not a cheap thing to make, but I need one for the telepad, like input block, whateverness. I also am gonna have to go up to the space station, and I'm gonna have to make a like ender resonator thing. So I can put the ender resonator in there, and then I use a witch soul vial, and then apparently some experience, and that will create some kind of sentient ender thing. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I'm actually gonna need several of the ender resonator things, plus like a zombie controller thing, so I'm gonna make a couple more things before I go home. I have no idea what that is, but I've got my telepad block now. So while I'm here, I might as well put down one side of it, and it kind of needs power to function, so I'm going to run some power over from my solar panels and connect it up. So now you have to use like this coordinate thing to make a coordinate selection, and you get that on a piece of paper. So that's actually what I'm going to bring home. And I can actually go home really easily just by falling down. Like literally you just go down and then you'll re-enter the atmosphere. So back here, let's make another one of the telepad stations, and I can put in the space station destination. And I would be able to teleport there, but I'm missing one thing. I'm missing Dew of the Void. Literally like Mountain Dew from the Void. We're going to do it! So it's another thing I have to make, which requires another machine from Ender.io called the VAT, and I don't have it yet, so gonna have to make that. Unfortunately, I ran out of machine chassis, so I'm gonna have to make even more of those as well. Lucky for me, I've been accumulating the neutron fluid most of the time, except with the brief time my reactor blew up. Very nice. That is one VAT. I actually may need to make 2 of them, but that's a start. So I have to make nutrient distillation first, which takes like some usually mob drops like rotten flesh or something, or sugar or some things like that. So one way to actually get a lot of that I might do now is I might make a mob farm here. I have these spawners because you can carry spawners around, which is nice. So I've already got like a blaze spawner, skeleton spawner, and a zombie spawner. So I will actually bring these to my basement in preparation for making a mob farm. Right now though, I can start to make the nutrient distillation, which is nice, which you then turn into the Dew of the Void with some other stuff. It's kind of bad having these mobs down here though. They are causing problems. The blazes are shooting fireballs everywhere and lighting stuff on fire. So I'm making this special glass which won't let light go through it. It's kind of like, it's like a better version of the tinted glass from the new version of Minecraft or whatever. So I'm gonna make this little pit down here, which is literally right under my chest where I normally stand, so that it's active pretty much the whole time that I'm here. So I'm gonna throw these mob spawners down here, and now that I have some Ender.io stuff, I can make a mob farm that's really good. Gonna start with these mob fans. These things, you give it redstone. You don't even have to give it energy, you just give it redstone, and then the fans turn on, and then it just like pushes the entities. Really nice. You can kind of see them getting shoved to that side. And then there's these mob spikes. Not sure if these fans are strong enough though. I may have to add more of fan range upgrades in order to make it so that the mobs don't get stuck off of the... Additionally, I can make the collection system pretty easy by having these big factory hoppers that pick up stuff in a 3x3 area and through blocks. But unfortunately what I realized is those mob spikes don't count as a player kill, so I won't even get blaze rods. You won't get experience from anything that dies to the spikes. So what you really need is you need these special mob mashers. That's literally what they're called. You can put upgrades in them, and they count as player kills. So you get experience, you get player only drops like blaze rods, and that's really the way to go. They're just more expensive. So down here I'm going to make another little room accessible via elevator, and I'm going to make my storage system for all of the mob junk that gets created. Well, actually a lot of it is going to be junk, but some of it is super nice. Like you get so much armor, it's kind of insane, and none of it's any armor that I want either. So there's a few things I do want, like I'm going to have blaze rods, and then like bones, rotten flesh, sulfur, things like that. And best of all, I can make an experience vacuum, and I can make an experience obelisk from Ender.io, and I can use that to collect the experience that gets created, and the vacuum will vacuum it up, and then it'll put it into the obelisk, and then I can take the experience out, or I can store the experience. You can even get the XP out as like liquid, in liquid form. But now if I get a fluid conduit, I should be able to run it through here and over to the obelisk and just send all the XP. Nice. It only takes getting to the Interstellar Age apparently to solve experience problems. Anyways, I kind of made that partially so that I would have infinite rotten flesh to help make the Dew of the Void. So back to that, I need grains of the end and grains of bestiality. And unfortunately I need Enderman souls for some of this stuff. So I figure I may as well make a powered spawner, which is also from Ender.io. And if I go get an Enderman soul, I can use that to make an Enderman spawner, and then I can just add Enderman to the farm down there, and I'll have a very easy way to get lots of Enderman souls. I won't have to go hunting for them. I'll just have to find the one Enderman. Additionally, there's another vat machine, and here is an Enderman. That wasn't too bad. I managed to find one pretty fast. So I can use this soul to make an Ender crystal, which I wanted to make first, and so that I could try out the Dew of the Void thing for the telepad. So if I go back home, I can crush it, and I can stick it in the other vat with the stuff and the nutrient distillation, and it looks like it's going to start making the Mountain Dew. Now I can pipe it over to here with the fluid pipe, and I can finally teleport straight to my space station. No rockets required. Don't have to use any rocket fuel, just uses a little bit of Mountain Dew. I did get another Enderman soul, found another Enderman. So now I can very, very slowly combine it with a broken spawner in this soul binder. And then once you take the broken spawner, which is an Enderman spawner now, you can combine that with the powered spawner, and that's how you get an artificial mob spawner. And of course I need a capacitor. I always forget about that, but this stuff should spawn now. We should get Endermen, and I don't think they're gonna teleport out. They should just get stuck there. Yeah, look at that. They keep going back, and then they get mob mashed. So one thing that I might do, I'm actually going to do, is you can make these looting upgrades, and you can put up to 10 of them in each mob masher. And so I'll get even more stuff when it kills the mobs, and it's going to be great. I also have an infinite supply of mob heads now, which is nice, because you need kind of a lot of that stuff for Ender.io. But of course, let's not forget the Ender Pearls is the single best thing that comes out of that. And sometime in like the near future, I'd love to add some like the elemental blazes to this. That would be really nice, but for now it's pretty good the way it is. What's not good though is that my fusion reactor seems to have powered down again. It didn't blow up this time, it just ran out of lithium. And that's because I filled up an entire basic drawer with slag, which is the lithium byproduct. And in other words, it clogged up the system and it shut down. All of that could have been solved by a couple storage drawer upgrades, which I didn't add before. So now I get to go and try to restart the reactor, which is awesome. I guess I should just be happy that it didn't blow up. Anyways, I can make lots of more of these crystals. Anytime I need Enderman souls, I can just go down here, wait for them to spawn, and yoink them like that. Back to the space station I go. The nice thing is it doesn't seem like it uses very much Dew of the Void every time you teleport, so I don't really need to make a lot of this. But that's enough for 4 more crafts of it, I guess, like 4 more buckets or whatever. I'm not quite sure how much it makes per time. A good amount though. Wow, I have a lot of quests that I have not claimed. Look at all that. There's actually a button I can push that should give me all that at once. Ooh, look at all those loot boxes. That's pretty nice. Actually, I managed to get a elemental blaze seed from one of those loot boxes, so I'm going to stick it in the corner here and farm it. There was a couple things that I needed to make for the quest book that would unlock some more sections, so I went ahead and did that. One of those being the Gauss rifle, which is, like, we've kind of been putting it off. It's a good weapon to have. I just hadn't really needed it, but it's a super long range sniper, basically, that does a ton of damage. Anyways, now I can go ahead and make the enchanter machine, which is gonna be amazing. I've been wishing I've had it since day one. This thing literally allows you to craft whatever enchanted book you want. You just need some items and some lapis, and then experience. Sometimes a lot of experience or a lot of items, but literally you can just craft whatever you want. It's amazing. Like, you can craft mending books and unbreaking books super easily. All you need are a bunch of book and quills. Oh wow, that's kind of a lot. Maybe not that many. And like, look at that, 4 feathers, a stack of lapis. I didn't actually use all the lapis, some experience, and you get a feather falling 4 enchanted book. You're gonna try to get a respiration book. You got actually a list of stuff I want. You got thorns. Oh, I ran out of experience. That's so sad. I guess I'll go to my XP farm and look at that. Look at all that 160 levels. I guess I'll just yoink some of that. That's pretty nice. Now I can load up my armor with all these epic enchantments. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna install a mod that removes the anvil XP limit. So even if it wants, like, I don't know, 100 levels to put something on my armor, it's still gonna let me. Oh, that's not great. I just noticed that. I'm gonna make another powered spawner so that I can have a witch spawner down here, because you'll get so much stuff from it. Like, I'll get redstone, glowstone, gunpowder, and sugar primarily. It's the same thing as I did before with the Enderman spawner. You just combine a broken spawner, which you get from mining any random spawner in the world. You combine it with a witch soul vial, and then you go home and shoot zombies and skeletons with the railgun, which is pretty cool. And then you put it in the anvil, use some experience, and you've got yourself a powered spawner. Uh-oh, it's a little bit tricky in here. There's a lot of mobs, and I'm also trying to not get shoved by the fans. It was also really loud. Oh, look at that. Look at, there go the witches. They can't avoid the mob masher. So I'm going to have to add quite a few more storage drawers down here now that I'm trying to save gunpowder, redstone, glowstone, and sugar. Yeah, I'm going to have to make one of these 2x2 drawers instead. I'll do that for the mob heads because I don't get a lot of those. And honestly, like, once these drawers fill up, there's going to be so much stuff, it's not going to matter. I even get potions. I get, like, sticks and witch hats. It's kind of crazy all the stuff you get. Now, completely shifting gears to something else, one thing I've been trying to do for a while is make the last tier of altar for astral sorcery, and I've got everything here. It's just I've been having trouble getting enough starlight into this existing altar, so I'm gonna have to come back and work on that later, but that's something that I'm trying to do now. I'm moving into the astral sorcery stuff, because there's some pretty high tier items I'm gonna need from that mod in order to craft some stuff soon, so I want to get started. It's a little bit difficult though when you're just kind of dying in high voltage wires all the time, which wouldn't be a problem if the fusion reactor would stop shutting down for mysterious reasons. I'm still not really sure what interrupts it. Anyways, it's back on, and I have enough experience to enchant some of my armor, which I am going to do. I bought all of those enchanted books for a reason. I also looked into trying to make a redstone system to automatically shut down my nuclear reactor if it got too hot, but I was unable to measure the temperature when there was also power in it. It was measuring the power level, not the temperature. Maybe somebody knows how to distinguish between the two, but I do not know how. In addition to some of that astral sorcery stuff, another thing I can do now that I'm in the Interstellar Age and I've done Ender IO stuff is I can work on the first tier of Void Miner, which is something that I've been wanting for a long time. So basically these things are multi-blocks that extract ore out of the void, and some of that ore is stuff you can only get that way. And some of it is, it's a lot of the time it's just a more convenient way to get it. Like, you can get some ores from normally only on other planets. You can get it out of the void in the overworld. So to make the tier 1 miner, you need something called litherite, which is something I actually added a crafting recipe for. You can see it is a 9x9 recipe that requires a ton of stuff, but it's the only way to get litherite initially until you have a tier 1 miner, in which case then you'll mine it out of the void. But I'm actually having to do a little bit of applied energistic stuff. I'm having to make this Fluix crystal, which luckily I already had some Ceratus quartz on hand, which I gotten before I had to change the generation of it because now it won't spawn in the world. But I'm trying to make pure Fluix crystals, which you're supposed to be able to make from these Fluix seeds. Apparently they grow in water, but I think it's really slow. So I figured I might just make a photogenic insulator instead and grow it in a machine, which is also pretty slow, but it's just not as slow. Oh, look at that, one pure Fluix crystal. That was kind of a challenge. Anyways, that's just for making litherite. That gives me a block of litherite, which turns into 9 litherite pieces, which is pretty good, so I'm not gonna have to make too many of this. So there's a couple different parts to the Void Miner. There's the Void Miner controller, which is kind of difficult. That's the most difficult part, but then there's also the building blocks for the multi-block, which are difficult in their own right. So there's a few things I have to do. Like, I'm going to need quite a few capacitors, including another tier 3 octadic capacitor. The only problem is it needs more solar dust, and I'm out of solar dust, and I literally have to go back to Venus. So I'm gonna go into my rocket. Oh, that's right, I can't use a tier 2 rocket. I need a tier 3 rocket. I thought I wasn't gonna have to go back this video. I mean, it wouldn't be a problem if I hadn't blown up my tier 3 rocket trying to land on Mercury earlier on. But that's what happened, so I have to make a tier 3 rocket again. Very unfortunate. It's not like I don't have the materials, it's just a little bit of time. Especially annoying because I already made this one time in the past. I made it at the end of the last video, but through my own stupidity, I blew it up. Anyways, here it is again. So I can go back to Venus and find more solar ore. Solar ore, actually, once I have a tier 1 void ore miner, I won't need to go to Venus to get any solar ore because I will get the solar ore from the void. It's going to be very nice. Anyways, I can use this stuff now. I can make more litherite. My stuff is finished growing. I can use my solar dust to make more capacitors in order to make a diode, which is a crafting recipe, a crafting component for the void ore miner controllers. Anyways, there's that. That's actually one of the hardest parts done. This is one of the things that I needed a sentient ender for that I made on the space station a little bit ago. Oh, look at that. My mystical plant grew. My basal's seeds grew, and I got one piece of basal's essence. Basal's essence. That's so hard to say. I don't know. Anyways, I'm actually going to need a lot of insulated wires to turn into data wires to help make some of this stuff for the void miner. And I don't have any automated hemp, which is kind of surprising. It's a pretty basic thing, and that's what you need in order to make the insulated wires. So I set up a super fast garden close thing here to make the hemp fibers. So I can use that to make this tough fabric, and then you can use that to make insulated wire coils, which then you make into data coils. And this is all just for crafting some of the pieces, like some of the building blocks for the multi-block of the void miner. I also need a pretty significant amount of dark steel in order to make these the blocks that I need. So I broke a bunch of flint and steel on the bedrock and got a bunch of void powder stuff and put it in the arc furnace. Well, I've got part of the stuff that I need for the structure blocks, whatever they're called. I'm also going to need laser lenses. Part of the mechanics of the void miners is, depending on what color laser lens you have, it affects what you pull out of the void. Or at least it affects the rates at which you pull different things out. So I'm just going to start with a clear laser lens. This is where I mixed some of this stuff with astral sorcery. Like, you need some astral sorcery lenses. Somehow I figured out how to make infused wood, which I had never actually made before. But all you have to do is throw wood into liquid starlight, and then you can use that to make like what is it, the astral sorcery prism lens thing. It's just a bunch of crafting that I added. The nice thing is now I'm able to go over here and make the final tier of altar, the iridescent altar, which will hopefully allow me to make some of the more advanced items. It's a very nice animation. I am a big fan. And look at that, there's my lens. That's what I needed. We're gonna make these clear laser lenses. Very good. So that's another piece of the tier 1 miner controller. And I also got all the dark steel I need, which is good. So I can use that over here. Here are these laser cores, which are kind of similar to the laser lenses. I needed 2 of them, plus 1 for the miner controller. So we're getting there. I need the 20 structure panels and 24 tier 1 void ore miner blocks, which is, well, we're gonna need more litherite, unfortunately. 6 more litherite blocks should be plenty, since I only need the items and each block gives 9 items. So I'm able to make my 24 tier 1 blocks there. Now it's just 20 structure panels. I'm almost done, very close to being done making this. The structure panels are easy. It's just some light engineering blocks and some black iron slates, which is not that hard to make. I have a lot of the materials for that. There, 20 structure panels. Now I'm literally just missing a couple little like alloy ingot things to stick with the void miner controller. There we go. Check it out. We did it. We made all the stuff for that. I didn't think that was going to take that short of amount of time, relatively speaking. So from what I understand, I've never actually used these things before. You need an assembler to help build it. And I think they take a lot of power. At least that's kind of what I thought. So I'm going to build it right next to the fusion reactor. And I'm going to use the fusion reactor's power output to run this thing. Hopefully it's going to be enough power. I guess we'll see. This is only a tier 1 void miner, so maybe it's not going to be as bad. But you never know. I can kind of just right click the controller with this assembler wand and then it builds it for me, which is awesome because I do not know the structure myself. Oh look, so it's assembled now, but it needs to be open to bedrock. Like the middle of it needs to go down there and see, then you get like a beacon beam. So technically it's functional now once I give it power. I'm gonna use some of my ender conduits and connect it directly to the reactor. Yeah, right now it's making 40,000 RF per tick. That should definitely be plenty. Yeah, look at that. It's already got 2 things. It's gotten in some inferium ore and some diamond ore. Actually, it's really slow. It's like a couple minutes later and it's only gotten a couple more things. That's actually not great. And it's only about a 1% chance to get litherite plus the special other gem that you need to build the tier 2 miner eventually. You really don't get very much of that. You can increase the chance of getting those particular gems if you add a crystal laser lens instead of a clear lens. But the crystal lens requires you to have 4 of the special gems anyways. Well, I'm gonna just let that run for a while, so I'm gonna shift gears over to some astral sorcery stuff, because I need an irradiant star in order to make some fancy things like the dimensional transceiver. The dimensional transceiver, it's a way you can transmit pretty much anything, like fluids, items, power, wirelessly across dimensions. You can also use it to make a special, like what's it called, the flux networks, which is a great way of wireless power transmission. You make these big networks, so it's the whole thing that requires an irradiant star. I needed more rock crystals. I went and I looked at night and found some more rock crystals for crafting stuff. And now that it's been a little while, I'm actually going to go check on the void miner and see what we have. That doesn't really seem like that much, but okay. So the irradiant stars are kind of difficult to make. They're specifically attuned to different constellations, which is a whole thing I haven't even done yet in astral sorcery. There is apparently a giant altar called the attunement altar, which is you somehow are able to attune stuff to constellations that appear in the sky. So I've had this constellation paper that I've had for a long time, and I haven't done anything with it. It just has drawings of constellations on it, so I think I'm gonna need that. All I know how to do right this moment is build this altar, so I'm gonna start with that and then go look at the constellations. So this thing is done, minus the actual block that goes in the middle of it. So I'm also gonna need to build another like big multi-block for the iridescent altar. Now it looks like it's built correctly. So there's a slot in that altar for some way that you're supposed to like invoke a constellation or whatever, and I'm not even sure how to do that, so I kind of have a lot to figure out. But I need that irradiant star if I want to ever make a dimensional transceiver and some of this wireless stuff. Alright, let's see what the void miner's doing. That's actually, it literally hasn't done anything. Why doesn't it have power? It's not the reactor's fault. Actually, it kind of is. Anyways, here's the attunement altar block. So I put it right in the middle here. And I think it must be in the right spot because we're getting these little glowing lights all around here now. So I have a telescope, which I made a while ago and didn't do anything with. And I assume that that's kind of how you're supposed to do the constellation stuff. There's also something called a looking glass, which you can use to find constellations more easily, but you have to do all that at nighttime. Oh look, I got 1 litherite crystal from my void ore miner. Great. I think it's better to craft that at this rate. Ooh, look at that. There is a falling star. I haven't seen one of these in a long time, and usually they burn up and don't even make it to the ground. But this one doesn't seem to be burning up. Yeah, it's actually gonna make it to the ground. Nice, look at that. It blows up on the ground, and you usually get something special from these things, I think. Yeah, I got a shining casing. Ooh, lucent scroll. I have no idea what that is for. Oh, I gained knowledge about something related to enchanting. That's awesome, I guess. Yeah, it's some information here. I'm not even sure what Alcara is. Maybe we'll find out later. Anyways, time to look at the sky. Oh, yeah, look at that. When you like move over the spots and then you see some big stars like that, I think that's a constellation. And then you can go onto the telescope and try to find that same area Like, I think that might be the same area. You can kind of see some bigger stars. And so I have these drawings of the constellations, and I'm looking for this one in particular. I need that one for my radiant star. And I think I actually found it here in the telescope, and you just draw the lines. Oh yeah, look it! I discovered the constellation Decidia. That's really cool. And look, you can even see it in the sky over there. Okay, so that's how you do that. Anyways, I'm glad I managed, like, literally right away. The first constellation I found is the one that I needed. So now I'm not quite sure how the attunement works. I think you have to attune rock or celestial crystals, probably celestial crystals, and then you put it into the iridescent altar. Then that's how you, like, invoke that particular constellation. I found out what the problem is with the fusion reactor. For some reason, when you put these conduits on the top of it, they just automatically disconnect every so often. I think it must be glitched, and that's why the thing isn't getting power. The good news is I actually finally got an iridium crystal, which is one of 4 of the special crystals that you get from the tier 1 void miner. And if I get 4, yeah, I can make it a crystal laser lens, which will increase the chance of getting litherite and that crystal, which is awesome, because if I ever want to make a tier 2 void miner, I think there's 6 tiers, I'm gonna need that stuff. Anyways, it's nighttime again, and I have found another constellation, although I actually don't think this is the one I thought it was. I think I am drawing something else. Yeah, this is definitely not what I thought it was. It is a different constellation. I found Amara. I thought I was finding something else, but I guess I'll take it. Oh, that's the one I thought I was finding. I somehow just missed it in the telescope and saw something completely different. Well, it wasn't very hard to draw in the telescope, so I managed to get it already, which is nice. So I have 3 constellations now. There's another one here. I can see the big stars, but not sure what it is. Oh, look at that. I got it right as it was daytime. That was close. That's 4 out of 5. Time to go back and look at the void miner, because it hasn't, it's been a little while since I checked it. Okay, still only 1 crystal. That's kind of sad. You know, I just noticed it says there when you click the void miner, it says that it only takes 640 RF per tick. I could run a lot of them with my fusion reactor. I didn't realize it was taking so little power. I got the idea to try to make some travel anchors in order to just move back and forth between my base faster, but then nighttime showed up, so I had to stop. So now that I actually have some idea of what I'm doing, I can come over to my attunement altar, and I can put these spectral relays down. Oh shoot, I didn't mean to get in it, but I seem to be attuning myself now. This is something that I saw on YouTube that you can do. You can jump in the attunement altar yourself, and then you'll attune yourself to a particular constellation, and then it opens up a perk tree, which I literally just discovered. I am being attuned to the constellation Decidia. I don't know if that's good. I think this particular constellation is beneficial for offense. I think that's what it says. Yeah, look at that. I have a perks tab now. Look, I have this big, like, perk tree. That's crazy. I don't know how I missed this for so long, but I feel like this would have been really helpful earlier, since it's really not even that hard to do. Anyways, I'll look at that in a little bit. Before it's daytime, I want to make sure I get the celestial crystal attuned to Decidia, because then I can go and stick it in the iridescent altar, and that should make it, like, good for that constellation when I go to craft that irradiant star. We'll see. That's quite the dramatic animation. I am a big fan. Aha, there we go. I think that's the first time I've ever done that. Yeah, it's now attuned to Decidia. It's also mostly maxed out. Yeah, you can put it in there, and now it shows the constellation. So now I just need to get this other stuff and try to get the crafting to work. So apparently I level up my particular perk skill tree area by dealing damage to stuff. That's at least what it says, I think. Or it said, is I have to deal damage to things. I have to go whack mobs with my sword, and then I get experience, and then I can level up stuff. Yeah, look, I have 1 point available, so I have one thing that I can do now, I guess. 5% increased melee damage, why not? Hey, look at that. There's now 3 of the iridium crystals out of 4 that I need to make the crystal laser lens. We're getting there. Anyways, I also made those travel anchors, and I made some elevator blocks. So now I can actually get to and from my magic area, my astral sorcery area, and my main base super fast. Hey, look at that. Found the last constellation out of the basic 5 ones. So that's pretty cool. Nice thing is once you get these, you can now go and read about them and they tell you like what their properties are if you tune yourself. But there's also like 11 other constellations that exist. I know this because I can see the constellation papers, but I don't have any of the papers. But you can craft the papers in the iridescent altar. And it's not too hard. You don't need to have anything attuned already because you're just kind of discovering the constellation. So it seems like a good idea to go ahead and try this. The only problem is it is almost daytime and I don't have enough starlight here. So I'm gonna have to wait and kill time and do stuff until it's nighttime again. I decided to make more of these little spectral relay multi-blocks which you kind of stick around these altars and they will channel more starlight toward the altar, allegedly. So it looks like now I can actually make this paper that it's nighttime again. Oh, and it's got like a little hologram where it wants you to put more stuff in the spectral relays. I can do that. Ooh, look at that. We got a constellation paper of Lucerna. Now, I guess if I can spot this in the sky, then I know what it looks like. Plus, I technically have learned it now, so it's going to show up in the astral tome. But what I'd really like to do is try to make that irradiant star. Oh, what the heck? Why is there a parasite here? It just broke part of the altar. I need this to go. I have no idea why it's here. I certainly can't make it if the altar's broken. I might not actually have enough time this night. I'm not sure if it's going to let me make it. The starlight may be too low. On the bright side, I can do another perk in my perk tree, my skill tree, 5% projectile damage. So this thing, I'm kind of just killing time waiting for it to be night. But this thing is called a stellar refraction table, and it's something to do with enchanting with constellations. I have no idea how it works, but it seems kind of cool. So I should be able to make this now. I also might be able to make this. Hopefully there's going to be enough starlight. Apparently there's not right now. Ooh, that's a big thing. So it looks like you need this infused glass to go with the table. So I'm going to try to make that. I don't know. I might run out of starlight. I'm not even sure if the constellation that I need for my irradiant star is in the sky because it's not showing up at the attunement altar. And now it's daytime again. And I still don't have 4 erodium crystals in the miner. I still only have 3. And there's not a lot to do. It's daytime. Oh, finally! I got the 4th erodium crystal. That was going to be bad. It's 998. There's not a lot of time left. And wasn't sure if I was going to get one of those before the time ran out. Ooh, it's lit up over there, the attunement altar. It looks like it is back in the sky. So we should be good on that side of things. Assuming I can make the altar itself work. At least I can make this crystal laser lens, though. What the heck? Why won't it work? I got my infused glass, I got my crystal laser lens. Oh look, this is kind of how the enchanting thing works, but more importantly, this thing's not working. Okay, I don't think it's getting enough starlight. I think that's the problem. I have one more night, basically, in which to try this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this entire altar setup away from the other altars in case there's some kind of diminishing returns if you have altars too close together. So I'm gonna pack the whole thing up and move it away and higher up. Gonna build it very close to build height because I do know that the amount of starlight you get like in the altar, it does matter how high up you are. Anyways, I can come down to my tier 1 void miner and this clear lens here, I can get rid of it. And instead I can put the crystal lens, so I should have quadrupled the likelihood that I get litherite or erodium, which is nice. Not that I'm gonna have a lot of time to use it today. Well, everything should be ready for tonight. There's the constellation, it's back. We're in business again. I don't know if that part matters, I assume it does. But either way, it's in the sky, it's right there. Now we just kind of have to wait and see. Oh, look at that. It showed up on the screen. That's a good sign. I'm going to wait and see if it fills up all the way and then try to activate it. Oh, come on. It stopped. But oh, look, the ritual's starting. It doesn't actually matter. It seems like we have enough. Oh yeah, it wants stuff. Shoot, I forgot. It needs other stuff. It needs other stuff on the little, the relays around it. Okay, I got the stuff back. Here we go, quick. Nice, look at that. It's starting again. Needs more stuff. at that. There it is, the Irradiant Star. Probably one of the single hardest items I've had to craft in this whole mod pack. Yeah, and not a moment too soon. I can make the dimensional transceiver now, or like a kind of can. I don't have all the other stuff. I have the hardest part of it. And now I'm going to do something I haven't done in a while, which is go to bed. There we are, day 1000. 1000 days on a single world in a video series. As I said, this may be the last video on this world. Regardless of that, this won't be the last time the particular exploits of this mod pack appear on the channel. I apologize for the rather sporadic uploads and long gaps. I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing IRL, and I've been moving into doing YouTube part-time for a while anyways now. Hopefully, once I get more stuff sorted out, things will be a little more regular, if not necessarily more frequent. Either way, big thanks to everyone who checks out the videos when I do manage to get my stuff together and upload. Hope everyone has a good rest of their day, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream. Bye.